One, my rich parents spoiled me like crazy when I was young. But when I turned 18, they decided to recreate that childhood love by making me swap identities with the maid's daughter for a month. They were trying to make me jealous, so they treated her with extreme affection. But things went sideways. She thought my parents had discarded me. She locked me in the basement and broke my legs. When my parents got back, she dragged my nearly lifeless body in front of them, smugly saying, "Mom, Dad, I taught this ungrateful brat a good lesson for you." The third month into our identity swap, my parents went on a trip. I spent a morning cleaning, then napped in my maid's room. The maid's daughter, Linda, barged in with her friends and some new bodyguards. My parents spoiled her so much to make me jealous that she was decked out in luxury brands. She laughed, "Lily, you're such a lazy servant, sleeping in broad daylight." Her friends chimed in, "She didn't even greet you, Linda. This kind of servant needs a lesson." I stood up confused and said, "Linda, what are you doing?" I already cleaned, but she slapped me hard, stunning me. She gloated, "You're not the pampered princess anymore." My parents said I'm better, and I'm now the only daughter of the Taylors. I realized she took my parents' words to heart. I wanted to fight back, but she kicked me hard in the stomach, and I cried out in pain. "Shut up," she said. "They're my parents now. You don't deserve to call them that." They dragged me to a secret basement my parents built for me as a safe haven. Desperate, I pleaded, "Linda, you misunderstood. My parents were just angry." She laughed with her friends, mocking me. "Didn't you hear? Her parents don't want her anymore." "Lily, it was supposed to be 1 month, but 3 have passed. They never mentioned bringing you back," Linda sneered. "They only love me now." I tried to stay strong, hoping my parents' love would deter her. I reminded them of my childhood, when I was so spoiled that any slight injury to me would make my parents furious. But they were convinced I was bluffing. I said, "Stop calling them Mom and Dad," Linda demanded. Her cold eyes indicated her bodyguards to start beating me. They slapped me repeatedly for half an hour, until my face was swollen and bleeding. "Now you serve us," she said, ordering me to kneel and wash her feet. I did, but when she got angry, she threw boiling water on me, burning my face. "You crazy lunatics!" I screamed as pain overwhelmed me. When my parents returned, but I was silenced with more scalding water down my throat. Linda ordered my hands tied, her sharp heels pressing into my face. "Break her legs," she spat, as her sinister bodyguards approached. I realized they were mercenaries, not just guards. The bats came down on my legs, cracking bones. I wanted to scream for my parents, but my throat was burnt, and all I could do was silently pray for help. Just when I fainted from the pain, Linda splashed cold water on my face to wake me. One of the girls timidly suggested it was too much, but Linda just laughed it off. "Wow, you sure are a wimp. What's wrong with that?" "Just called my dad and told him I'm gonna teach a lesson to this disobedient loser." "Wanna guess what he said?" "Linda, Mr. Taylor must have said yes, right? He's always saying yes to you." Someone quickly chimed in to flatter her. "Of course. Dad said that anyone who messes with his daughter deserves to die. I get to deal with them however I want." Linda sneered, making sure I heard every word. "Besides, I'm the heiress of the Taylor family. What's wrong with disciplining a servant? Dad would only worry if I'm tired out." Seeing her so confident, her timid friends seemed to relax and started agreeing, looking at me with mocking smiles. Yes, Mr. Taylor definitely thinks Linda is very sensible, helping him out. Linda, that traitor, definitely has trashy character that suits someone who doesn't appreciate anything. Good job teaching her a lesson." Linda ground her heel into my bruised face. "Done yet, loser?" She ordered her bodyguards to strip off my clothes. I whimpered, fighting back with everything I had, but it was no use. I watched in horror as my clothes were torn away, exposing my skin. Terrified, I huddled in a corner, trembling. Linda whispered something to her thugs and casually took out a video camera. The bodyguards pounced like starving dogs. "Who dares? I'm the Taylor's daughter. My dad's Mason." My words came out garbled with blood in my mouth. Laughter filled the room again. "Look, she forgot who she is again." Linda gave a signal, and the bodyguards became even more aggressive. "Please no, stop," I begged Linda with a shaking voice. "You know, I've hated your princess attitude for a while now. Why are you the high and mighty heiress, and we just the maids?" Now that your dad ditched you, it's finally time for me to teach you a lesson. Hatred filled Linda's eyes. Wanna get spared? Beg down on your knees for us, noble heiress. Oh wait, I forgot. Our heiress can't kneel with broken legs now, can she? She gave a malicious smile, kicking my numb legs. I clung to a sliver of hope, desperately pleading, bending in awkward positions to kowtow. But no one spared me. My expression faded from pain to numbness to despair. I'm just the maid's daughter, a loser, please spare me, I repeated mechanically, enduring their humiliation. Linda felt even more excited, watching the show, seemingly pleased with the scene. Her friends enthusiastically took close-ups of me, cheering her on. Haha, Linda, she's calling herself a loser now. At least she recognizes her place. Justice is served. Blood was pooling around me. My body, riddled with wounds, grew weaker and I couldn't help but think of my parents. Dad, Mom, you said our secret spot was the safest. But now I'm gonna die here. You've been showering Linda with love, wishing I'd get jealous and beg. But if you knew how I'm treated, would you regret it? Would you stand up for me? Linda, aren't we too cruel? Someone whispered, feeling uneasy at the messy basement. What are you afraid of? Dad will handle it when he's back. Linda snapped. Just then my dad's voice echoed. Linda, there you are. We got you a present. Linda paused, then rushed to the basement door to greet them. Dad, Mom, you're back. She put on the sweetest smile, holding their hands. She was a different person from the earlier tyrant. What were you doing in the basement? My dad's brows furrowed as he looked towards where they came from. I told you, just teaching a servant a lesson. Linda noticed his displeasure, pouting and watching his reaction carefully. What's that smell? Mom seemed puzzled, her eyes focusing on the basement. Dad, Mom, punishing a servant is messy work. Linda mumbled, a bit nervous. Mom looked displeased. Who allowed you to punish someone in the basement? She didn't finish when Dad cut her off. Mom and Dad don't approve, so I won't do it again. Linda pouted, tears brimming as she looked at Dad. Linda, I just think it's too gloomy down there. Not good for girls. Dad had a sudden realization, glancing at my nanny's window across the corridor, mentioning something about a new villa with a big terrace and sunroom. He spoke gently but loud enough, probably hoping I'd overhear. But here I was nearly dead in the basement. Linda beamed at her dad's favor, showing off to her friends. Her friends, full of envy, showered her with praises. Wow, Mr. Taylor and Mrs. Taylor really love Linda. So lucky. Mr. Taylor spoils you so much. Linda's joy showed even more. Thank you, Dad. Thank you, Mom. I'll behave and make you proud and repay you. Her eyes sparkled as she clung to her dad's sleeve. Mom seemed to hold back, though she casually moved closer to the window. That's good, my dear. Everything we have will be yours. 3 tomorrow. Let's take Lily's yachts and private jets out for a spin, shall we? She shouted enthusiastically. Oh right, Mom and Dad adore their obedient and dutiful daughter the most. Dad cleared his throat, giving a knowing nod. We waited a few seconds. The window across from us remained still. Mom and Dad seemed a bit annoyed and stopped looking toward the nanny's quarters. Instead, they dragged Linda down to the basement. Linda, come show us what you've been up to down there. Dad said, but you gotta promise not to get mad or lecture me. Linda pouted, hugging Dad's arm playfully. Haha, my dear daughter, when have I ever scolded you? Dad chuckled, shaking his head. I heard them getting closer, and panic surged through me. I tried desperately to make a sound, to catch their attention. Is this the servant you punished? Dad finally glanced my way. My breaths were faint. My face burned and scarred beyond recognition. I was completely exposed, no skin unscathed. My legs twisted at disturbing angles, clearly broken long ago. The sight was shocking and gruesome. Yes, Mom and Dad, I gave this disobedient wretch a proper lesson, Linda boasted. How could you beat someone so badly? He grimaced, covering his nose in disgust. Mom quickly retreated from the basement, gagging. They didn't recognize me. I felt a wave of despair as my vision blurred, and I blacked out. Seeing Dad's displeased expression, Linda's chirpy friends instantly fell silent. Dad, Mom, you don't know how awful that wretch was. They lazed around instead of doing chores, and when I said something they dared to talk back. Linda protested, eyes wide and seemingly innocent. Her friends chimed in, exactly. A servant acting like that? It's unacceptable. Full of lies, with no respect for our Linda. We couldn't stand it. Mr. Taylor, Mrs. Taylor, that person was out of line, lazy, and had a terrible attitude. The punishment was well deserved. Yes, it's terrible how they kept upsetting you. Mr. Taylor, you have no idea. Linda had to discipline them so much before they knew their place, that they're just a servant. Poor Linda was exhausted. Dad blinked, realizing he'd misunderstood Linda. His gaze filled with admiration. I didn't expect such a wicked servant at home. We should be thanking you, Linda, for how well you handled it. You're such a good daughter. He still thought I was just a clumsy servant. He patted Linda's shoulder, smiling kindly, then turned to the others. And thank you all for looking out for Linda. Linda's friends blushed with pride, standing taller to claim their part. Uncle, we were worried she'd hurt Linda, so I pulled her hair. Uncle, she dared to insult Linda, so I slapped her a few times. She didn't dare speak again. Uncle, I helped too, kicked her several times. Great job, everyone. I'll make sure you each get a nice gift. Linda's friends cheered, faces lighting up. Dad gently stroked Linda's hair, warmth in his smile. Linda beamed back at him. Daddy will take care of this mess. Just give her some money to go away. But next time, let someone else handle it, okay? You're too young. What if someone takes advantage of you? Dad calmly explained, signaling the bodyguards to clean up. Got it, Dad. You're the best. Don't worry, I won't do it again. Linda playfully winked. All right, enough. We have to cheer you up after all this. Here's a little something for you, Dad said, pulling out a stunning purple diamond necklace, handing it to Linda. Linda spun around excitedly. Oh, is this really for me? Thanks, Dad. Linda, this is the purple diamond necklace I got for you at the auction. Let me put it on for you. Dad announced loudly. It was supposed to be my birthday gift from him 6 months ago. Linda couldn't hide her glee as she displayed the necklace proudly, like a little swan. The girls around her looked on enviously once again. Linda was absolutely thrilled and said boastfully, that wretch thought my parents would punish me, but now they've bought me a gift instead. Good thing I gave that ungrateful person what they deserved, otherwise, she'd still be pretending to be the princess here. What did you say? Dad paused, stunned. Just then, Mom rushed back into the basement, panicked. The nanny's room is empty. Lily isn't there, there's blood. She stammered, trembling. That's when Dad finally caught on, his face twisting with realization. He stumbled over to where my body lay. Dad, what's wrong? We punished her. Lily's the ungrateful one, Linda said, still seeking praise. But by then, neither Dad nor Mom were paying attention to her. They gently brushed back my matted hair, frantically checking my face, trying to confirm this was indeed their beloved daughter. Normally pristine in his suit, Dad was now on his knees, looking anything but composed. For usually, my mom is all elegant and graceful, but now her hair's a mess and her face is just covered in tears. Out of nowhere, she spots the birthmark on my neck. She lets out this heart-wrenching scream and hugs me tight. My dad's anxiously checking if I'm breathing, throws a coat over me, eyes red with worry, and yells at the bodyguards, call a helicopter. Get my daughter to the hospital. Now. Are you all just standing there? Linda just stands there shocked. Dad, Mom, what are you doing? Lily's dead. She's just a worthless corpse, she protests, looking confused and resentful. Mr. Taylor, Mrs. Taylor, Linda's worried sick. You should pay her some attention. And that ungrateful brat upset you so much. It's just karma. Linda's friends chime in too, some dissing me, others standing up for her. But my parents just ignore them. With that crazy look in their eyes, someone starts to piece things together. Why does Mr. Taylor seem to care so much about this girl? Could it really be that there's still a father-daughter bond? But others quickly shut that down. No way, Mr. Taylor was just doting on Linda a second ago. We all saw it. They're probably just worried how Linda will explain this mess. They rush me to the best private hospital, and top experts from all over the country have gathered. The doctors hooked me up to all sorts of machines, inserting tubes big and small, and wheeled me into surgery. Fix my daughter. Wake her up. If anything happens to her, I'll take all of you down with her. Dad shouts at the doctors, eyes still fiery red. Linda's looking a bit shaken, but her friends try to soothe her. Linda, it's okay. See, mister. Taylor hasn't yelled at you yet, has he? He's probably just feeling a little guilty. It's not your fault. Linda nods heavily, feeling reassured. Yeah, they're not mad at me, she mutters. But Dad doesn't hear a thing. His eyes just staring blankly at the surgery room. Mom's on her knees, bowing and praying desperately. Even though they're loaded, there's nothing they can do right now. A whole day and night pass. An esteemed and elderly doctor comes out, gently telling my parents Miss Lily is saved, but she's lost a lot of blood, and her brain's damaged. She might be in a coma. Doctor, will my daughter ever wake up? Dad asks desperately. The chances are nearly zero, the doctor replies, showing sympathy before walking away. Dad's like a man who's just received his death sentence. He opens his mouth, but not a sound comes out. Mom's beating her head and crying out in extreme pain. I've been cleaned up and hooked to machines to keep me alive, then moved into a ward. I'm so pale and frail, like I could slip away at any moment. Dad comes over, gently holding my pale hand. Mom softly strokes my face and pats my back, whispering my name, just like when she used to put me to sleep when I was little. But Linda breaks the serene moment. Dad, Mom, don't be sad. You still have me. I'm way better than this ungrateful brat. I'll be there for you. You were so good to her. She's gotten off easy. She deserved worse, she says with a falsely sweet face, thinking she's comforting them. Finally, Dad snaps, turning to Linda with such a fierce look. Linda, do you know? We always dreamed of having a daughter. But Lily's mom couldn't get pregnant. We waited for 10 years. For this daughter, your mom took countless medicines, bore painful injections. She almost died giving birth to her. We want to give her the best of everything. She's our world. Even if she's stubborn, no one means more to us. We can't bear her getting hurt. Do you understand? He snarls like a demon from hell. By the way, you're just the daughter of a nanny. How dare you compare yourself to my precious Lily? We just wanted to make her jealous by being nice to you. But it's hilarious that you couldn't see your own place. He laughs hoarsely, chillingly cold. Lily, don't worry, Dad will get revenge for you. Linda is terrified. She tries to run, but the bodyguards pin her down. My parents head back to the basement. Only this time it's different. Linda and her friends are all tied up. My parents have found Linda's videotape. I watch as Dad, who aged overnight, watches the tape in anger, spitting blood. Mom, already in poor health, faints after just a glimpse. Linda, everything you did to Lily is coming back to you. With interest, Dad smiles a cruel, ghostly smile. Some of Linda's friends, freaking out, fall to their knees, blaming each other. Mr. Taylor, it wasn't me. I tried to stop Linda. No, she's the one who convinced Linda to break Miss Lily's leg, they cry, pleading. But Dad's eyes only show disdain, as if looking at a pile of rotting corpses. He chuckles darkly, shaking his head. You think I've forgotten? You held my daughter's hair, he gestures, deadly calm. You slapped her hard enough to silence her, he points out another. And you kicked her stomach. And Linda, must I really say more? 5, he glared at them fiercely, not saying a word. His bodyguard would execute his orders instantly. The basement echoed with screams, painting a scene straight out of hell. I can't take it anymore. I won't dare to cross Miss Lily ever again. I apologize, they cried out. Linda begged desperately too, pleading with her dad for mercy on her knees. But it was useless. They were trapped in the basement, with no escape in sight. Linda had slapped me for half an hour, so Dad had her slapped for an hour. She poured hot water on me, and Dad responded with boiling oil. He went mad. He had Linda nursed back to a state just alive enough to endure more abuse. Only when Linda was at her breaking point did Dad show a sinister smile of satisfaction. Mom. She'd stand nearby, recording everything, watching hospital monitors while chatting with me. A week later, Linda was unrecognizable, physically and mentally shattered. My parents came to visit me in the hospital again. It was my birthday. They sat beside my bed with a bowl of longevity noodles. No one ate. Tears just kept falling into the bowl. By the early morning, they had left, but 2 shadows crept into the room. I'll kill you, I'll kill you. I'm their only daughter. They'll never treat me like that again, a voice muttered. It was Linda, supposed to be confined in the basement. She was unkempt, smelled terrible, and seemed deranged. An older woman followed her, That was the nanny, Susan. Linda, kill this little BTCH first. Don't worry, when Mom got you out, I had already set fire to the villa with gasoline, burning Mason and his wife. These demons who hurt you, they'll die miserably. Today is the Taylor family's death anniversary, Susan sneered, brandishing scissors approaching my bed. But just as she was about to strike, or rather, someone who looked just like me, flipped over with agility, pinning her down. The lights came on. The person holding Susan down was a female cop, who looked very much like me. Cops at the door held up their guns. Mom and Dad walked in slowly. Thank you, Dad said, exhausted but managing a grateful smile at the police. You did this on purpose. Susan realized with horror, struggling wildly, but the handcuffs snapped on. You left me the key to the basement on purpose. Let me into the hospital on purpose. You'll all die terribly, she raged hysterically. Every move of yours was under my surveillance. I knew what you were up to when you bought the gasoline. Otherwise, how do you think you got in and out of the guarded Taylor house so easily? I called the police and sent Lily somewhere safe. Didn't go back to the villa to rest that night, Dad said with a cold smile. Give up. You and your daughter got what you deserved. Susan and Linda were soon taken away, prosecuted, and jailed on multiple charges. My parents started going to the temple frequently, praying for my recovery, donating generously. 2 years later, I thought I could hear the sounds in my hospital room. I heard them flipping through family photo albums, reminiscing about my childhood. There were shots of me learning to sit, walk, go to school, laugh, cry. Stories of my early years brought some light back to their haunted faces. Yet soon, they'd bow their heads, immersed in apology and heartbreak. Dear, do you think our Lily hates us? Dad pondered sorrowfully. Lily, when you forgive us, please wake up and come see us, Mom wept, clutching my hand. Surprisingly, I woke up the next day. My parents cried with joy, hugging me. My mind was still foggy. Dad, once dashing and spirited, and Mom, once glamorous, looked 10 years older in those 2 brief years. Tears streamed down my face, as if releasing the years of hurt all at once. They stayed by my side for days and nights, recounting everything that happened. Slowly, the memories faded, and I escaped the nightmare flashbacks. Mom went to the temple to fulfill her vow, praying at each step from the foot of the mountain to the top. Dad tried making up, showering me with gifts, jewels, properties, even an island I dreamt of. I felt like I traveled back to a carefree time before it all. But one day, Dad gently asked, Sweetheart, do you think the people who hurt you got what they deserved? I nodded, puzzled. He shook his head with a faint smile. Not quite, dear. There's still one very bad person. I was confused, but he refused to say more. The next day, he turned himself into the police, arrested for unlawful imprisonment and abuse. I visited him, tears in my eyes, yet he seemed more at peace than ever. I couldn't sleep, he explained, thinking of you in that cold basement. While I was comforting your tormentors, I couldn't live with that. I don't regret avenging you, but I want a clear conscience. Once I'm out, can we truly move past this? Mom held me, soothing my tears. I nodded, sniffing. Later, I saw Linda in prison. Her face was irrevocably scarred. She was a shadow of her former self, reeking terribly. I couldn't help but flash a smile. Linda, did you ever imagine things would turn out this way? You wanted to replace me so badly. When I explained things, I gave you a chance. Your greed. My words seemed to pierce her, sending her into a delusional muttering. I'm the true Taylor heiress. It's me. Don't hit me. Don't hit me. Go away. Go away. I looked at her calmly for a moment and then turned to leave. Later, I heard that she was locked up with one of those so-called fake friends of theirs. For years, she was bullied daily in prison and never had a peaceful day. The day I got out, the weather was finally sunny. Sunlight warmed my face, and I smiled with tears in my eyes. It felt like a new beginning. The end.